Hello everyone. Today is day 27. It is the 16th of June 2021 and welcome and thank you for watching my Rethink and Develop 100 Days. R&D 100 Days starts with rethinking followed by development. Today is day 27, rethinking the tasty community. So in regards to the people like we talked about last week, if you remember last week, we talked about a lot of senior people, for example, senior chefs who are retired social workers, right? Retired sportsmen, retired, I think of, just retired people, for example, retired nurses and doctors in general, right? Um, we say that they can play a huge part because they can continue the inheritance, right? Well, I think I focused a bit more on that last time, and I think this time I want to talk more about um, all people, how all people, we're going to put the seniors on one side and how all the people, not just relegated to seniors and retirees, can use the tasty community to benefit, okay? Um, so let's talk about the common U.S. adult, right? Men and women, right? We work a lot. We work daily, and people are very stressed, right? They have to commute to work. They need to commute back, and they can use. And my idea is that we can use the tasty community to relieve some stress, right? You need to wake up early at 6 or 7, or even earlier than that, to commute to work, which for many people can be upwards of an hour or more, right? So, and then you're up early, you're cranky, and then you're up to need to um, go into the workplace, right? And by that you might be angry or pissed off. And so you're stressed out, let's say, and when you get home you're even more stressed, right? And so my idea is that people can use the tasty community to relieve some stress, right? And why? Because this is actually good for their physical health and their mental health, right? Let's say you're working, you don't, even when you come home, you don't need to think of work all the time. Your connections and the people you won't talk to won't be always the same family, like your acquaintances or your boss or your family. Although those can be good and great and meaningful relationships, it's the same thing, and you nearly always get the same thing from them, right? Um, so what Tasty Community will provide in terms of connection is that in their lives they will get more variety and more connections from outside their field, or even different connections from even within their field as well. So basically, not just work and home and maybe church, right? And so my idea is that will reduce your stress a lot, right? Because if your life is too, let's say, normal, I don't want to be offensive, but normal, or too mundane, then it's not really good, right? You're going to be more and more stressful and more bored, right? And I'll get into more of the consequences regarding that later, right? And now and so number one is that it reduces stress, right? Actually, before last week, we talked about the inheritance portion and how they can keep working and still use their skills, right? Now that's just a quick refresher for this week. Um, So it's the number one for today is that it can reduce stress. And if you can imagine in your head, if you're listening to what I say, it can even lead to more and more things, right? Um, Number two is their kids, right? What usually happens to their kids when they come back from school? Or how about in the summer where parents have to work but no one is taking care of them, right? What if the kids are only locked in their youth and children community, right? What happens? So it won't be good if parents are with the adults in their own circle and the kids are in their own circle, right? My number two is that tasty community will get rid of bad influences within the children and youth, right? We have seen many parts of our society where if there's no parents to defend or to mentor the youth, or there's no mentor or elder figure for the youth, then they'll just get together and start to revolution or just pretend that they're radical and start making crime, as we have seen in many of, for example, the inner cities, right? And tasty community will positively affect all of the areas of the community, of the family, of all the ages, right? You have, parents, you have the kids, right? Less stress for the parents, less trouble for the children, and they can all learn things, right? So tasty community will be held accountable for the positive, um, the effects in the society. Okay. Now, remember when I talked about sharing in the tasty community, right? Well, number three I want to touch upon today is that everybody is able to use a very friendly way to share their thinking. Because when you have such a space set up, then you can think of, then you have a more relaxed tone. You can you can think your thoughts and express your thoughts a lot clearer, right? Um, and topics, people can bring in to share. Their involvement with this is more natural and it's not too planned to. And we also want to avoid, which I believe will help, we want to avoid being too radical. Because when you're too normal, you're too cooped up inside, then those thoughts, well, you're not going to get, feedback. You're not going to listen to yourself um, speak anymore, right? So now it will be not too radical, more calm and peaceful. There's less need for pride, right? Less pride from less stress. And that's number three, is that you can, share your ideas well. You have a very safe and good and productive space of sharing your thoughts, right? So tasty community is sort of like a source of peace and style. And we see it as a pioneer for the community, right? And if you want to talk about diversity, well, there's no really shortage of diversity because we come from all different backgrounds, right? We can't have, a million people doing the same thing. But when your content keep coming up, right, when there's new content being refreshed in people, then people will be satisfied in their needs and wants. And life and the community will not be boring, right? Like I said, if it's too boring, then it'll be too radical and try to express all of that cooped up anger. And in regards to the public help and public service, it's also a big help. Remember what I said about the kids? Well, this is going to be a big boost to public security if you carry it further, right? And that can let the taxpayers be satisfied because they see a future for their taxes, a future for their generation that the taxes are going to. It's not just used for nothing, like next generation, right? We'll see the usefulness, and this model will let many people join and be flexible. Not like now where it's defined by real estate and it's too rigid. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.